All right, so today we're going to cover two types of risk because there are two types of risk in the world today. And most people don't realize that. But successful people realize that there are two types of risk. And successful people always know what type of risk to take. And this is something that you develop over time. This is a skill that becomes like a second skin or becomes second nature. Once you do it often enough, it just becomes like a spider sense, so to speak, that tingles whenever opportunity arises. And then you know exactly how to go into these opportunities based on the type of risk you should be taking. So we're going to cover that today, and we're going to just jump right into it, the two types of risk. So the first risk is the risk that 98% of people take today. I know that's crazy. 98% of people take the first type of risk that we're about to talk about. And that's because the average person today is either too afraid to take a risk, so they do nothing, or they're complacent. They are happy with the way things are, don't believe that there's much else they can do to change it, so they stay the same. And that's actually sad, because everything was designed with growth in mind. Everything God has created was designed with growth in mind. If you are not growing, you are dying. That's just it. I'm going to repeat that. I don't ever want you to forget this. If you are not growing, you are dying. Plain and simple. So don't die. Start growing. Start growing. Now, as I mentioned, people who are complacent, they never grow. They stay the same. And these people are either too afraid to take risk or too complacent that when they do take risk, it's what I like to call the first type of risk, blind risk. Blind risk. So, blind risk is simple. Blind risk is when you don't have all the information on an opportunity or a venture that could change your life or move you to another level or help you progress any way that's for the betterment of your life and the lives of others around you, right? So that's key. Now, you don't have all the information about the opportunity or venture. You haven't done your due diligence or research on the opportunity or venture that you are about to take this blind risk on. Maybe someone just told you about an opportunity and said, hey man, I'm telling you, you got to get in on this. It's a good investment, bro. And you jumped in. You probably put money in it, made an investment towards it, and you're looking for a return. That's the thing about taking risk. I think that in general, life is about taking risk. So this first type of risk, the blind risk, is when you don't have all the information, all the proper variables about the opportunity or the venture, but you go in taking a risk for positive change or positive results or positive growth without knowing all the bullet points, and you don't weigh the probabilities. And when you do that, man, you're up in the air. That's like taking spaghetti, throwing it at the wall just to see what noodles stick. And you know what happens when you do that? You totally wipe out. 9 times out of 10, you lose it all. The opportunity hits you and devastates you so hard with bad and negative results that you could barely afford to take another opportunity anytime in the near future. And maybe the experience from a blind risk take to a new venture has just devastated you so bad from the negative results that you just totally gave up on opportunities when they come your way. Well, that's sad because too many people do that. Again, 98% of the people are doing that. So then there's the other type of risk, which is what 2% of people are doing. And that one is called calculated risk. When I learned this difference, it totally changed the game for me, right? Because I realized that successful people, the 2%, They take calculated risk. And a calculated risk is what you need to take. A calculated risk is when you take all of the variables. And believe it or not, you don't have to have much information, but you're just doing your due diligence to get yourself familiar with it, understand all you can about the opportunity, the venture, and see if this is the right fit for you. And once you get all this information and proper variables, then you take the calculated risk. A calculated risk is always predicated on a series of strategic questions. And these questions I'm going to give to you now if you're ever ready to start moving forward and taking the calculated risk. And those questions, I wrote them down because I wanted to share them with you, and I don't want you to forget it. So here it is. Calculated risk, where you simply weigh out your outcome options. Here are outcome questions that you're supposed to ask that are strategically designed to weigh the probability of the calculated risk. Number one, what's the worst that can happen? Very important question to ask when taking a calculated risk. Second, what's the good that can come likely from this calculated risk? Third, what do I have to lose by taking this calculated risk? 4, what can I gain from taking this calculated risk? 5, is it illegal? Am I breaking the law taking this calculated risk? 6, who am I becoming by taking this calculated risk? And 7, how will this change my future by taking this calculated risk? And those are the 7 questions that you ask, right? And what you end up seeing is that if the positive results of the questions you just asked, these strategic questions, these 7 strategic questions, if they outweigh the negative answers, then you've calculated the risk by using these questions. You're ready to go in the investment. If the negative results or answers that you get out of asking yourself these 7 strategic questions for calculated risk outweigh the positive, don't take the risk. You've done the calculation. So there you have it, guys. That's it for today. We're done. You now write down those 7 strategic questions for taking calculated risk. And anytime you're about to take an opportunity, take on a venture, I don't care what it is, as long as it's going to add to your life, increase you financially, increase you where you're growing emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, you need to ask yourself these questions. Sometimes taking a risk is not just about investments and opportunity, it's a calculated risk about the people you choose to hang with. It's a calculated risk about the opportunity or job you're about to take on. So ask yourself those 7 strategic questions, or write them down and answer them every time, and take the calculated risk. Be part of the 2%. Leave the 98% where they are and take the calculated risk every time. Well, that's it for us, guys. This has been another moment of getting clear. I'm telling you guys, it's time to get clear, turn your pain into your passion, and make money and influence your circle, and eventually influence the world. I'll see you guys another time.